Hello, this is Ron Brown again. I'm going to continue my series on creating watch lists in HGS Investor. And this week I'm going to talk about some watch lists that I've created for you. I went through the process last week of what to see what drives stocks, and I've come up with a few scans I want to talk about. I call this money flow watch list scans. Remember, the market is your teacher, and I'm going to move on to the next standard risk disclaimer. All trading strategies are used at your own risk. And once again, if you don't use the software, you should. You'll see how powerful it is as I go through this video. My voice seems to be congested a little bit today, but I think it'll work for this video. Before I go any further, I want to make sure that the Insider Club users are aware of these new scans I put in last week, the most active scans or screener, and I'll point that out here in a second. But this was on the Skype board this morning. Finally closed my PLTR trade from Tuesday, 350% gain. Thanks, Ron, for the most active screener. These screeners work in conjunction with Thinkorswim, and here is where, let me bring the quick pick forward. The most active stock and ETF scans are in here. Since I covered the most active scans in a previous video, I'm not going to spend any more time on that. I just wanted to make sure that you're taking advantage of them and using them, because there are a lot of opportunities in there to locate trades that can make you money in a short period of time. Of course, you have to control your risk going in, but these are powerful scans. Now, the reason I'm doing this video today is to talk about these watch lists that I'm experimenting with, and I'm going to bring up this group inclusion report that I had up yesterday or the other day, I'm sorry, when I did the last video, and look at some of these characteristics which are showing up in these stocks. And most of the stocks are showing up in the money flow indicators. So that's what I'm basing a lot of these scans on. So once again, I'm going to do a Control F. And if I just type in the word money flow, you can see that all of these, or most of these stocks, appeared in these money flow scans. So I thought that was where I would start. And let me show you what I came up with. Now, I may be doing more of these, but this is a good place to start. I'm going to bring my quick pickup. When you install the new add-on, you're going to have these scans, money flow in and money flow in end of day scans. I'm saying end of day because this information is based upon the prior day. Now, I want to point out that you have to be in the Insider Club to get this. And there are two new groups here based upon the money flow groups that I'm already tracking. And the reason I had to put two new groups in because these cannot be dated in the filter. Otherwise, it's going to look for the original filter date. So I created the same watch list without a filter. So here are two money flow in. One requires an industry percentage price change, and the other one does not. So let me show you how I designed these filters. But you can see these are not dated. So the filters I have, and I'll start right here. Money flow in, these are stocks with weekly options. And if you click on this with a pencil and open it up, it tells you what this scan does. It accesses the end of day money flow in smart groups, in the smart group. 5-day window for 3-6 crossover using a demand combo, stocks with weekly options. So if I bring the filter up, it has to be a group member of these one or the other money flow groups, and also a member of the CBOE or Chicago Board Options Exchange most active stocks. There are 300 securities in there, both ETFs and stocks, but this is for stocks only. Days since the 3 crossed the 6 less than or equal to 4. So this, the way I've set this up, it can be a positive crossover or stocks that have not crossed over yet, and you'll see that in a minute. Minimum of $1 trading 100,000 shares. So let's see what we have here. And this is from last night's scan, which would have been the 7th on a Wednesday. And okay, you can see that this is the days since, and I gave it a 5-day window, so 4 would be maximum. Why did I do that? Because some of these stocks have triggered, and I just wanted to be able to see what is happening to them, and if they're not too extended, then there's an opportunity to get on. This only pulled up 39 securities. Now, the next is the intraday view of that, and once again, this is explained in here what this does. So I'm using the same list of 39 stocks, which came up in the money flow groups, I should say, and then I'm looking to see which ones are working the next day. So these are stocks that appeared in yesterday's money flow that are doing well today. Now I'm only showing 16 of them. Let's open this up, and you can see that most of them are up today. The market, well, it's gaining momentum again. It's going up, but most of these stocks are up today. There's only one really bad performer, and that's this Cameco, and it looks like the earnings came out yesterday. No, I'm sorry. That's the last date, not earnings. I paused the video and I went in and put the earnings due column in on all of these. I thought it was in there. But anyway, it did report today. That's why it's down 5.66%, trading near the bottom of its daily range on above average volume. Now, I showed you that note from a customer who made a lot of money on PLTR. Looks like it's still going up. So let's bring it up. This is where it first appeared right here. I'll move in on this a little bit. In the scan, the most active scan, and he wrote it up. He got out sometime today. Probably could have made a little more money, but didn't want to be greedy. So anyway, it is still showing up. It was a money flow in. It showed up in the money flow in smartgroups, and I went back and checked, and it was showing up back in here where there was this big volume day. Now sometimes you'll get a big volume spike here, and this volume bar is color coded to be the same color as the bar from the open to the close. This is a big volume day, but it closed lower, so it was being distributed before earnings, and then the earnings came out, and those who bailed out the prior day probably wish they wouldn't have, and it just took off. Now looking back over here, you can see that, let me bring an arrow up here, that it crossed over 4 days ago. So looking back over here at this one, this is a daily chart too. You can see that the crossover happened right here on this bar, which was being sold into. And the volume point of control also went positive on that day. This is a high relative strength stock, RS of 96, 98 on the Kirkpatrick measurement. And if you look over here, you can see it's trading 274.9%, 274.9% above average. And you can see that here's the average line right here, this yellow line, and you can see that it's a lot of people chasing it right now. Now, I'm basing this on the money flow from the prior day. So these stocks were showing up in one of those money flow folders and also showing up with the weekly options. Now, let's move on. Okay, the next one has pretty much the same thing except a 5-day pocket pivot, or the blue line, with only a 2-day or a 3-day window on this, because I wanted to catch them, or I want to catch them as close as possible to these big blue lines. So let's look at this. Here is, I'll just take the top one. This is end of day. You can see that here's the big blue line. It shot up, it gapped clear up to here today and fell back. But I'm looking at the end of day. So let's go in, let's drop down with the same filter and look at the intraday. Get this crosshair off of here. I'll zoom out on this one a little bit too. I'll just do an alternate one on both of them so they're the same size. But you can see money flowing, the big volume spikes here. This spike here, this one qualified here because it had more up volume on an up bar than any of the previous 5 days, 5-day down bars volume. So that's why it showed up here. But then it really showed up here on this day as it moved up sharply. Look at the price of this stock. It showed up here, had to show up after it was $1, so it would have shown up after this. I guess I could lower that and get rid of the dollar minimum, but this stock has had a heck of a run over the past few days. As you can see, it fits within that 2-day window. This would be the 2-day window right here. When it crossed over, looking over here, here it's actually 1, 2, and then this is today's action. Let's look at a stock that's something that we may really be interested in. By the way, this first one only trades 197,000 shares. Let's look at MKS Instruments. I'll just go across here. Volume was high yesterday's close, above average spread, closed in the middle. You can see that there's nothing in this column right here, the days since the 3 crossed the 6, because it hasn't crossed yet. But today it's up 5.59%. It hadn't crossed on the VPOC either. Has a RS of 92. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, I'm going to start over here on this one because you can see that I'll bring the arrow up, that the 3 crossed the 6 right here, and the VPOC also turned positive today. Now this is a $115 stock. Here is strength seen coming in, a confirmation of that strength today. It showed up in the money flow scan from yesterday, or it wouldn't be in here. Even though it was kind of a negative candle yesterday, it did show up. Because the close, must have been because the close is greater than the prior day's close. So it showed up as a money flow positive stock. Now this is interesting. These are rose-colored bars rather than blue. And the reason for that is, remember, this bar is the same color as the open to close. And these, on both of these days, the stock closed lower than it opened, but on heavier volume. And you can see the test was in here, or the strength coming in. It doesn't matter that this is rose, and you won't see this very often. It just tells you that this volume was higher than any volume on a down day over the previous 5 days. Sounds a little confusing, and even though this is rose, this is a positive development. Let's take a look here. I need to get out of the drawing program. MicroStrategy is up big because Bitcoin is up $1,150 today, and this is closely related to it. Let's take a look at Cloudflare instead. NET. Earnings came out today. Well, both of these had earnings today. This is the 8th. Yesterday, Cloudflare volume was high, spread was above average, and the close was very high. It's within that 2-day window. It's either 0, 1, or negative. And let's just see what we have here on an 89 RS stock. It's up 5.57% today. And here is a heavy volume bar here. This one didn't get above the 90, or it didn't qualify. And it didn't qualify on this day because within that 5-day window, there were these, especially this down day right here and this volume spike right here. So it had to be, there has to be a 5-day period between when you have a negative day on heavy volume, and you can see that this cleared it. So this was the first day when this volume was heavier, or I should say greater than any volume on a down bar within that 5-day window. So it was appearing here, and this is what happened. We have an effort to rise here. This, if I click on it, was a strength seen returning after a short downtrend. Confirmation the next day on an effort to rise, and here it is today moving up sharply. And its earnings came out today. Okay, now I'm going to move on to the next scan. Pretty much let me just open this up and take a look at it. It accesses the end of day money flow in the smartgroups 5-day window again for the 3-6 crossover using a demand combo. These are CanSlim type stocks, 20% earnings and revenue growth. Because CanSlim was coming up a lot, as you can see in this group inclusion report that I created for the last video. A lot of CanSlim. In fact, if I highlight this, do a Control C, do a Control V up here, you can see that the leading stocks, especially the leading stocks, are the ones that appear most often, have a lot of the CanSlim characteristics or earnings growth. So here is the end of day, and then if I drop down to the next one, this is the intraday, and then we can see how many of these 17 stocks are following through today. There's Cloudflare. Again, let's look at DoorDash. Here is that 5-day window. 4 would be the highest number. I'm happen to be in this stock right here, GigaCloud. I've got some debit spreads on in it. I meant to say I've got some debit spreads on. It's been working its way higher. But let's look at DoorDash. Earnings are due the 15th. It's an RS94 stock. It's up 345 today, and it's the signal happened 4 days ago. So let's start over here on this side. Now it's still showing up, but if it was in the money flow any of these prior days, it would have had the positive crossover already. But here it goes. It's there's the blue bar right here. Yesterday, big volume coming into it. Back here on these days, before there was this pullback, and then here's the crossover day right here with an effort to rise. And here's what it looks like today. Now I'm giving this, I opened this window up to 5 days because I want to be able to see stocks like this that have had their signal, but yet they're still moving up because maybe there's an opportunity to get in. I prefer to find stocks that are just crossing over like this because your risk is much less than if you're chasing extended stocks. Okay, now here's another one. I didn't buy this. I certainly was looking at it though. JFrog. I didn't bring it up yet. You can see that strength coming in, confirmation with 2 efforts to rise, 3 efforts to rise, and then a 1-day shakeout, and then a reversal, and big volume today. This was enough to generate the negative pocket pivot, but there was no follow-through the next day. This was a buying opportunity after the shakeout, and here it goes again. Where was the crossover day? Clear back here on these efforts to rise. I paused the video and I just ran the group inclusion report on Frog just to see in January and February where the money flow was showing up, the 19th, the 25th, 29th in January, 31st, and then 1st, 2nd, 5th, 6th, and 7th in February. So it's showing up in those groups that I've saved. So where is, that's the 1st of February right there. It was showing up there, and most days after, probably not on this one. So it's going into those money flow folders and looking for these stocks. Now, I've got one more, and it's just the opposite. It's money flow out. And this is the end of day, and this is the intraday, and you can see that most of them are still down, but there are some that are up. So when you should check this money flow out to see if there are reversals. And the last date, the earnings are out of the way, but let's take a look at this Wynn Resort. The money flowed out on this red bar, but it gapped up. The money flow was probably showing up on the in on these days right here. I'm going to pause the video and we'll look at this. Okay, I put the Wynn symbol in. I'm going to run the group inclusion report. I haven't looked at this. We'll see the results together. I've selected the money flow groups already. Okay, and you can see that there was a money flow out on the 22nd, but these have all been money flow in except for yesterday. So starting on the 25th, the 6th, so it appeared on the 6th and the 25th. So where is the 6th? Right here. It appeared on money flow in before this big move up. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at this. This video is getting long. It's a little bit disjointed. I'm sorry about that. But I just want to show you what you have to look forward to next time you install the add-on. You're going to find these money flow in and money flow out. I think the descriptions are sufficient. Give them a try. This is experimental, of course, but I like the results I've been seeing so far, and I really like the fact that these are showing up in the money flow in and out. Thank you for listening, and one of these days I'm going to do a live session so we can talk about these.